No matter what anyone says or does, my task is to be good. Like gold or emerald or purple, repeating to itself, no matter what anyone says or does, my task is to be emerald, my color undiminished. End quote. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations, Hayes edition, Book 7, verse 15. Marcus Aurelius, one of Rome's 5 good emperors, and also one of the most famous figures in Stoic philosophy, has become increasingly prevalent in the last few years, and his personal journal, Meditations, has become a prime read by those practicing Stoic philosophy. But what exactly is Stoic philosophy, and how did Aurelius influence it? In today's video, we'll take a dive into the basic principles of Stoicism through the history of Marcus Aurelius, and how he affected this philosophy. To preface, I myself practice Stoicism, and I found it to be incredibly helpful in my day-to-day life. So expect more videos coming about it in the future. However, this series will not be limited to Stoic philosophy, and I hope to cover many more eventually. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, a subscription is much appreciated, and feel free to leave any corrections or critiques in the comments below. Now first, what is Stoicism? Stoicism emphasizes the importance of living in accordance with nature and developing inner tranquility by accepting what cannot be changed, and focusing on what can. At the core of Stoic teachings lies the notion of controlling one's emotions, desires, and reactions to external events, striving for virtue and wisdom in the face of adversity. Stoics believe in cultivating resilience, self-discipline, and moral integrity, viewing hardships not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth and self-improvement. Central to Stoic thought is the understanding that true freedom and happiness come from mastering one's own mind and actions, rather than being dependent on external circumstances. Through practices like mindfulness, rational reflection, and ethical living, Stoicism offers a practical framework for leading a fulfilling and meaningful life. Aurelius, at his time of living, was the most powerful man in the world. All pleasures of the flesh were open to him. Sex, drugs, and displays of excess were commonplace in the empire at this time. However, he chose not to partake. He valued temperance and self-control over temporary pleasure. There's no value in partaking in such actions, as they don't lead to an improved life for anyone. In fact, these things often serve to do far more damage than good, which is illustrated perfectly with Aurelius' son, Commodus, who is known to overindulge in these pleasures. During his reign, he would become known for being an emperor akin to Nero, and as a gutless coward who was hated by many of the Roman people, being unable to live up to the character of his father. Stoicism would call this type of indulgence not living in accordance with nature, or living in a way that values the temporary and destructive over the lasting and constructive. It's important to recognize that Aurelius led the empire in a time of great struggle, with heavy military conflict, successfully fighting the Parthian Empire and the rebel kingdom of Armenia. Also, the Antone Plague broke out in 165 or 166, killing anywhere between 5 and 10 million people. And yet, through all these challenges, he persevered. How does one do this? Here we circle back to another tenet of Stoicism. This is where we'll discuss a primary Stoic concept, that is, the dichotomy of control, which is the recognition of things that are both in and out of our control. From this recognition, we can accept those things that are out of our control and not let them affect our good judgment, as no matter what we do, they are just that, out of our control, and we can do nothing to change them. Using practices like this, Aurelius was able to cast aside those things that were not fixable and do good wherever he was able to. He also strongly believed in the maintaining of positive interactions with others, widely believing that anger was a negative emotion and not something that we should strive to feel, as it clouds our good judgment. This concept was brought about by some of his philosophical predecessors, but he expanded it, stating, quote, "Some despise me. That's their problem. I will not say nor do anything despicable. Some hate me. That's their problem. I will be patient and cheerful with everyone, including them." End quote. Aurelius, Meditations, Hayes edition, Book 11, verse 13. This goes against our more modern view of righteous anger as something that is acceptable or even good. Anger is the end of reason, as it prevents us from accurately being able to assess our current situation, and only brings about more pain. One who is blinded by rage does not have the capacity to see beyond it. With the path ahead clouded, we're unable to make logical decisions, which is also not in accordance with nature. Say, for instance, I was insulted by a stranger in public. One response would be to fly into a fit of rage and attack the man that insulted me. But if I do something like that, I might fail to notice that he has 3 buddies waiting to run my fade right into the hospital. A better choice would be to let that insult slide off, and know that it came from a place of weakness within someone else, rather than a fault of my own. Aurelius endured many struggles, including the death of his father at an early age, invasions of barbarians, plague, and a successor who may not have been fit to rule. This taught him the massive importance of grit and perseverance. One can't run an empire without at least occasionally running into problems. He shares his perspective on the topic with this quote: "Nothing happens to anyone that they can't endure. The same thing happens to other people, and they weather it unharmed, out of sheer obliviousness or because they want to display character. Is wisdom really much weaker than ignorance and vanity?" End quote. Meditations, Hayes Edition, Book 5, verse 18. Further asserting the power of the mind over any and all obstacles we may come across. In this quote, he focuses on that if those who are driven for themselves can endure, it should be a simple task for those who are not. If an idiot is able to do it, why can't I? Honestly, goes pretty hard. Building on that, Aurelius had a distinct emphasis on the acceptance of fate. In Meditations, Aurelius repeatedly reflects on the principle of recognizing and embracing the inevitability of events beyond our control. He encourages readers to find peace and tranquility by surrendering to the natural order of the universe, acknowledging that certain circumstances are beyond human influence. A premier example of this is death. Everyone will eventually die, so why spend time worrying about when they will when you could be cherishing the time you have with them now? Aurelius believed that by accepting fate with equanimity, individuals could better prepare their inner resilience and serenity, regardless of the external circumstances. This teaching resonates deeply with his own experiences as an emperor, where he faced a myriad of challenges and uncertainties that we've already discussed. Through his writings, Aurelius imparts the wisdom of embracing fate as a pathway to inner peace and contentment. The dichotomy of these two teachings is one that is central to the way of the Stoics. Focusing on what you can change while accepting what you cannot is essentially the Stoic philosophy in its most simplest form. Essentially, min-maxing your decisions like a D&D character. And this is what I believe Aurelius is best at. He makes Stoicism approachable. Aurelius is imperfect, and he knows that. He provides a real example of a practicing philosopher, not some theoretical perfect being. And better yet, we have his journal, which he would probably be mortified to know is printed and sold by the millions each year. Marcus Aurelius is a man that, in this day and age, many could serve to learn from. His way of life makes philosophy something that is accessible and usable by anyone from the laborer to the CEO. Thanks for watching.